All right, so we just saw the 2020 NHL Entry Draft Lottery, and to say I think most of the hockey world is stunned, it's definitely an understatement. We'll be taking a look at the top 8 picks. Yeah, I've spoiled it already. We'll be taking a look at the top picks, where the teams will be selecting, as well as a mock draft of those top 8 draft picks here in this video. If you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below, and let's take a look at the top 8 draft pick selections. All right, so looking at the draft order, it was interesting right off the bat as Bill Daly came out with the cards, and he said, I have 8 cards on me, basically letting us know that one of the play-in round teams would be drafting in the top 3. So that was right off the bat. We knew that this was going to be an interesting draft. So pretty much, even the Buffalo Sabres, the lower teams would be, getting pushed back either way. So we start off at number 7, which was originally the Buffalo Sabres. Originally at number 6 was the New Jersey Devils, the Anaheim Ducks, the Los Angeles Kings, the Ottawa Senators with 2 and 3, and then the Detroit Red Wings with the first overall pick. So they all had the best odds in that order of drafting first overall. So now we get to the draft, and right off the bat at number 8 is the Buffalo Sabres. So the Buffalo Sabres drop from number 7 to number 8. The New Jersey Devils drop from number 6 down to number 7. The Ottawa Senators drop with their second overall pick, which was their pick. That goes down to number 5. And then at number 4, the Detroit Red Wings, who had the best odds at drafting first overall. They didn't even win the lottery, so they ended up falling out of the top 3, and they will have the 4th overall pick. And then in the top 3 is the Ottawa Senators pick they got in the Erik Karlsson trade from the San Jose Sharks, so they were able to win a lottery pick with that. Not first overall, but still in the top 3. Not too bad there. So that pick ended up staying at number 3. The Los Angeles Kings were the big winners tonight, as of at this point, getting the second overall draft pick, moving up from number 4 all the way up to number 2. And that leaves with the first overall pick, one of the 8 teams that lose the play-in round series will have an opportunity to select Alexis Lafreniere with the first overall pick. Just to name a couple of these teams, the Chicago Blackhawks, the Edmonton Oilers, Minnesota Wild, Nashville Predators, New York Islanders, New York Rangers, Pittsburgh Penguins. Should I keep going? Toronto. So it's going to be quite interesting seeing how things play out, but that's just to name a couple of the teams that could possibly be in on Alexis Lafreniere with the first overall pick. And not to mention, we were talking about the Montreal Canadiens. It's a shame he wouldn't be getting selected by the Canadiens. That is still very much a possibility if they do indeed lose to the Pittsburgh Penguins. I feel like either way, if either of those teams, either Pittsburgh because they've had Crosby and Lemieux in weird scenarios, or Montreal picking up, it's rigged because he is from Quebec. So either way, you're not winning with either of those 2 teams. And then everybody else, it's just going to be very interesting to see how this draft lottery goes. They are having another set date at the conclusion of the play-in round series. Once the official quote-unquote top 16 teams going to the Stanley Cup playoffs, once that begins, they will have a second lottery here for that first overall pick. So, looking at the top 8, and I think it's pretty easy to tell, even with that top seed, we know who they are likely going to select, whatever team that is, so that's actually a good thing. It makes it easier to make a mock draft here. So we're going to start off at number 8, and my most recent mock draft before this, I had the Buffalo Sabres maybe going off the board and picking up a guy like goaltender Yaroslav Askarov, but I have changed my mind here over the past couple of days. I think they could use some more forwards to that group, and I think they go with the left winger from the Saginaw Spirit. I believe they go with Cole Perfetti. I think that's a great pickup for the Buffalo Sabres. They've got some decent guys down the middle. You've got Dylan Cozens, probably the second-line center in the future. Jack Eichel, hopefully, as that first-line center for the Buffalo Sabres. Add some wingers around there. You've got guys like Sam Reinhart, Victor Olofsson. I think if you add a guy like Cole Perfetti, I think that's a great pickup for the Buffalo Sabres. And now you've got with the number 7 overall pick is the New Jersey Devils. And all offseason, the Devil fans have been talking about how we need help on defense, and I believe they will be addressing that in this year's draft. Now, it's not the right shot defenseman. They may still be exploring that option in the offseason, talking more about free agency, because they do have a decent amount of capital available for free agency this year. But we are going to be looking at left shot defenseman, the top American on the board here, defenseman Jake Sanderson. Now, this is a big pickup here for the New Jersey Devils, adding to that blue line. You've already got guys like Ty Smith, who will be coming up in the future. You have a guy here right up there with Jake Sanderson. A lot of potential with Sanderson that, some have been even saying he has better potential than even Jamie Drysdale, who I may or may not be talking about later in this video further up in the draft. But Jake Sanderson may be the overall better defenseman long term. He may not be the best defenseman out of the gate in years 1 and 2, but long term, this could be a huge investment piece for the New Jersey Devils on that blue line. This is definitely a guy to watch, and this would be the pick I have for the Devils, because you look, unless they want to pick up another winger, a guy like Alex Holtz or one of those guys, I think it's a better fit. You pick up a guy like Sanderson, who helps out the blue line. That's obviously been a little bit of an issue for the New Jersey Devils. This could be a huge pickup for the Devils. So now we move up to number 6, and the Anaheim Ducks are kind of interesting, because you could say they pick another center up, but they have guys like Lundestrom, Trevor Zegras, and Troy Terry, guys like that. So do they need another center? Well, I'm going to be picking another center here. Unless they go with a guy like Alex Holtz, I believe they'll be going with the best player available at that spot. And in their opinion, I believe it will be centerman Marco Rose. I think this is a great pickup for the Anaheim Ducks. The Anaheim Ducks obviously have a pretty solid group, like I was mentioning with their forward group. They've got a decent defense. Obviously, their goaltending is set with John Gibson, so they don't really need help in that department either. So I think they are going to pick up the best player available, and that will be, on the board at this point, Marco Rose. So now we move up to number 5, and the Ottawa Senators are probably upset. They had the second best odds. They ended up going to 5 with this pick, but I don't think they will be too disappointed, because this is a solid draft pick here for the Ottawa Senators. At number 5, I have the Ottawa Senators selecting the best defenseman in this draft class, arguably with Jake Sanderson, right shot defenseman playing with the Erie Otters in the OHL, Jamie Drysdale. This guy has a lot of offensive upside. He can move the puck up. He is a point-producing defenseman, and this could be a great pickup for the Ottawa Senators. And with who they pick with their first pick at third overall, we'll be taking a look at that later here. But I think this is a great pickup for the Ottawa Senators. Going to be probably the best player available, unless they want to pick up another center or a winger. I don't believe they need that really as much. They have a couple of guys. You've got defense. You've got pretty solid defense. You have guys, up on the wings. You've got guys like Eric Brandstrom. You have guys like Josh Norris down the middle, as well as who they'll be selecting with their third overall pick. So they're pretty solid up front. I think they could use a guy on the blue line. I think Jamie Drysdale would be a huge addition to that blue line. And long term, Jamie Drysdale, with a guy like Thomas Chabot on that top pair, would be lethal for the Ottawa Senators. So now we move up to number 4. And once again, another team that kind of got gypped in this draft lottery system is the Detroit Red Wings. As Steve Yzerman kind of tanked the team this year quietly. We kind of know things weren't going to go so well for the Detroit Red Wings this season. I was really hoping they would at least get a top 3 draft pick. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case for the Detroit Red Wings, but they, I believe, will be selecting the winger, and I believe this is an interesting spot. They could be going with a center, but I really like the wingers here for the Detroit Red Wings. I think they're going to go with Lucas Raymond. Now, the reason Lucas Raymond, the Detroit Red Wings have a history of having good players like Lucas Raymond, a solid Swede to play on the wing there for the Detroit Red Wings. They're still going to have some issues down the middle. They could select one of those centers, like I mentioned earlier. Unless they go for a guy like Jamie Drysdale, I don't think they really need to. They just picked up Moritz Seider last year at the draft. So I think they will be looking at a winger here. And Lucas Raymond is an absolute dynamite, and I think could be a great pickup here for the Detroit Red Wings. So at number 3, the Ottawa Senators pick that stayed there because of the San Jose Sharks trade. I believe they will be selecting with the third overall pick Quinton Byfield. This is a solid draft for the Ottawa Senators, picking number 3 and number 5 in this year's NHL entry draft. That's only happened 4 other times in NHL history. And this is another opportunity here for the Ottawa Senators to really end the rebuild. I'll be making a video talking about that, but this is huge for the Ottawa Senators this draft. You pick up a solid defenseman in Jamie Drysdale, who I think will be the best player on the board at that pick, as well as picking up the top center available at that point, and that will be Quinton Byfield. He is a huge difference maker for this Ottawa Senators team moving forward, and I think adding down the middle, it's an easy choice here for the Ottawa Senators, picking up the big defenseman, the big centerman who has an NHL body and will be ready to play in the fall or whenever the season resumes in 2020, 2021, Quinton Byfield to the Ottawa Senators. So now at number 2, as the Los Angeles Kings had this pick fall right into their lap, moving up from the 4th spot up to the 2nd spot. The Los Angeles Kings, I believe, will be selecting from the guy that came from Germany, from Mannheim, who's really risen his stock all season, Tim Stützle. So Tim Stützle has really raised his stock over the past year. He had a really solid season. He can play center. He can play the wing. Tim Stützle is a very versatile player. I think is a huge piece moving forward, possibly for the Los Angeles Kings. I see the fit there. I could see him wearing a Los Angeles Kings jersey on draft day. I think this is a great pickup for the Los Angeles Kings. And not to mention, the fact they moved up in the draft, you obviously can't complain. And now you've got Tim Stützle, you've got guys like Gabe Vilardi. This is becoming a pretty solid core up front for the Los Angeles Kings. This is a huge move for the Kings. So that means, depending on who gets that first overall pick when we have that set date, we will be ending up seeing, with that lottery, who ends up selecting the first overall pick. But right here, it's pretty easy. It's going to be Alexis Lafreniere, whichever way you look at it, whichever team drafts this guy, it's going to be a pickup and a half for one of those teams. They make the play-in round series. They don't win it necessarily, but now you got to realize the motivation. General managers may not be as disappointed if their team loses the play-in round, because they have a chance at drafting first overall for Alexis Lafreniere, the franchise winger here at this year's draft. He doesn't know where he's going quite yet, because more than likely he will be selected first overall in this year's draft. Like I said earlier, list off a couple of teams: the Islanders, the Rangers, the Edmonton Oilers, Chicago Blackhawks, Minnesota Wild, Nashville Predators, Dallas Stars, Toronto Maple Leafs, Columbus Blue Jackets, Pittsburgh Penguins, and yes, Canadian fans, the Montreal Canadiens could possibly still get Alexis Lafreniere with that first overall pick. So that's it for this video. Leave in the comment section down below. Obviously, we don't know how the play-in round series is going to go, but who do you think at this point will win those sweepstakes for the first overall pick in Alexis Lafreniere? Leave that in the comment section down below. And if you like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and a subscribe down below. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.